Welcome to Red and Yellow, the podcast about all things to do with refereeing at grassroots level, looking at the laws of football, speaking to guests, and trying to help you become a better referee, with Adam Humphreys and me, Ed Connell.
Hello, it's Adam here, and welcome to this episode of Red or Yellow. I just wanted to jump on here before the episode started and remind you to send us your questions about anything refereeing. And that way we can hopefully help you improve your game, as well as help all of the listeners improve their games as well. The best place to send us your question is via our loyal listener WhatsApp community, which you can join by clicking the link in the show notes, or send us an email or find us on social media. It's at Red or Yellow Pod. Added to that, please subscribe to the podcast, and that way our meandering chats about refereeing will magically appear on your phone whenever we release a new episode. And lastly, all views expressed on this podcast are that of myself, Adam Humphreys, and not that of Football Queensland. Now that's all done, let's get on with the show.
Well, hello, Edward.
Good morning, Adam. How are you?
I'm good. And I'm coming at you live from the Brisbane headquarters of Red or Yellow podcast.
Well, the Brisbane headquarters looks like it's sort of run out of money because the office is closed down. And you're now sat in a car in some car park.
I've pulled up. And I've pulled up because we're doing an emergency podcast based on this last weekend's events. And this was the only 10, 15 minutes I had in order to get this done with you. So that's why I'm in my car. I've turned the aircon off, so hopefully I don't overheat. And I can't wait to chat about this. Wait, we haven't done the emergency podcast klaxon. Here it is. How are you?
Well, I'm good. And I suppose we should explain that we were having a discussion recently about how difficult it is to schedule our podcast recordings because, as I'm sure everybody knows, you're in Australia, on the Gold Coast, and I'm
not on the Gold Coast. I live in Toowoomba.
Oh, that point is lost on just about everybody apart from people from Toowoomba and the Gold Coast. So Adam is in Australia, I'm in London, and trying to schedule recording a podcast is problematic enough given that you have various jobs and I've got my job and we've got a horrendous time difference. But we had a discussion recently where we said that sometimes when there are significant events that happen, we need to try and be a bit more flexible, and that might mean that rather than recording with videos we've been doing recently for our YouTube channel, it might mean sometimes we have to do things on the go. Sometimes it might be audio only, but anyway, you're on the go, but you still managed to get your laptop. You're sat in your car. All looks very dodgy, but I'm sat here also in the comfort of my home.
Also, can we at least pretend that we're a professional operation, even though I'm sat in my car with my laptop on my lap, and not call them discussions, but call them production meetings, because that's what they are.
Well, the problem is, if there was no video, which is something you were quite keen for us to adopt, we could have
get away with it.
We could have completely got away with it, but instead we've now got to explain why it is you're sat in a car park somewhere with a laptop on your lap. And just looking, it just all looks very odd. But anyway, there we go.
You're making me laugh so much. The video's bouncing up and down. So stop making me laugh, Edward.
I'm just looking forward to the fact that obviously without any aircon in your car, the temperature's going to go to about 48 degrees.
Well, this is only going to be a short podcast. It's an emergency episode.
The only emergency might be me calling emergency services in Australia to come and rescue you from your overheating
If you need
car.
if there's anyone in Australia listening, it's 000, not 999.
Anyway, the emergency podcast has come about because there was a fairly significant refereeing event that took place in a game at the weekend, which I thought was worthy of discussion, which was I think it was a Saturday lunchtime kickoff. It was the game between Arsenal and Brighton. The referee was Chris Kavanagh, so pretty experienced Premiership referee. And Declan Rice received 2 yellow cards and received his first ever red card of his career. And it's caused quite a big controversy. For those people who haven't seen it, certainly it's viewable in the UK from our Twitter account, Red or Yellow. I tweeted the footage and a lot of other bits of media surrounding this particular instance. So if you want to go and have a look at our Twitter account, you can do. But let me just try and describe it very, very quickly if I can. I think it's the start of the second half. Declan Rice had received a yellow card in the first half for what was a pretty reckless challenge in the middle of the pitch. I don't think there's any dispute at all that that was a reckless challenge and was worthy of a yellow card. And this particular incident is 2 minutes, I think, into the start of the second half. We are in the Brighton end of the pitch, right in the corner, and there is a foul committed by Declan Rice on Veltman, the Brighton defender. I don't think it was particularly serious challenge. I don't think, in my view, it's worthy of a yellow. But it's what happens next that's significant, because Declan Rice turns to walk back towards his end of the pitch, and Veltman picks the ball up and throws it in the direction of Declan Rice. So throws it sort of a few feet further down the pitch, and goes or intimates as though he's going to take a free kick quickly. The ball kind of comes into contact with the bottom of Declan Rice, and he kicks the ball away to the side, deviates it from its path, probably by a few feet as well. And Veltman, when he goes to try and take the kick, or intimating he tries to take the kick, kicks Declan Rice, who then goes down on the floor. Interestingly, the commentary as the referee comes in to deal with the matter, Andy Gray, I was listening to commentary again this morning. Andy Gray says, "Oh, I think Veltman's in trouble here." And I think he thought Veltman was going to get a red card for kicking Declan Rice. It's quite interesting. That was the immediate response of the commentators, that that's what was going to happen.
But it was also Andy Gray, so
yeah. But I think I think Andy Gray is a pretty good commentator. And I think what's really interesting, Adam, and I think what's going to probably make the difference between your view about this incident and mine, because I'm pretty confident that we're not going to have the same view about this. But
I wonder why.
I wonder whether it isn't a situation of being having been a player myself, as opposed to you, who sort of wasn't a player, who's just a referee, and myself who's a player.
I played for my drama school. Thank you very much.
Well, that comment is not going to that's not going to sound well in the sound bites, is it really? So anyway, but you said before you recognised that you didn't play very much, and I used to play an awful lot, and I think there's a difference of perspective here that might be as a result of that experience. But anyway, before we talk about it, I'm pretty confident that we're going to have different views about this. I don't know why I think that, but I think because you are more of a stickler for the law than I am.
Wow! Oh wow!
But so
do you not mean I know the laws better than you do?
No, absolutely not. Because as everybody knows who's into this podcast before, people know that I do know the laws as well. But no, well, listen, I'll tell you straight off the bat. I think this was a very disappointing piece of refereeing. I think that it should never have been a yellow card in a million years. And I think it's really bad that he got his red card for it. What do you say?
It's definitely a yellow card.
Yes, I knew you'd say that.
Yes, but it is definitely a yellow card. I've spoken to a few people about this. I've spoken to 2 Arsenal fans. They both have different opinions on it. One says it was really stupid, it was really soft, and it was a little bit silly, but deserved a yellow card. And the other one has not been able to find me a single argument in law that upholds the fact that Chris Kavanagh got it wrong. Okay? Could the whole situation have been managed differently? I think it probably could have. Could it have been worked around in some way? I think yes. However, strictly speaking, in law, it is not an incorrect decision. Is it the right decision for football? That's a whole different argument. But in law, it is not the wrong decision. And
so in terms of law, I mean, it's right to say, and this isn't a law change, I don't think, this year. It's right to say it's always been a cautionable offence for delaying the restart of play. I think, right?
Of course.
I think the difference this year is that certainly for the Premier League, there was a lot of chat around the fact that this was now going to be sort of more strictly enforced because everyone's fed up of this sort of situation whereby Peel wants to go and take a quick free kick and players were kicking the ball away and no action was being taken. So at the beginning of the year season, everybody was being told, players especially in the Premier League, but at all levels, that this sort of thing, delaying the start of play, kicking the ball away, slowing things down, is going to result in a yellow card. I get that. I understand that. And I understand that that's the law. My problem with it in how it was applied in this particular situation is that everybody has an understanding of what we mean by a quick free kick, right? It's a team that want to take advantage of having the opportunity to play the ball as quickly as possible, right? So you need to look at the context of where this happened. This happened right.
You can delay the restart at any kind of free kick, not just a quick free kick. You can delay a restart at a goal kick, at a kickoff.
But the issue here is, was he actually trying to take a quick free kick, or was he actually just trying to create an instant? And that's why I think the position on the pitch is important, because it's right in the corner flag, right in the corner. So there's no advantage for playing the ball quickly because everybody's further down the pitch than him. Secondly, and I retweeted this yesterday because Michael Richards was talking about this on his podcast with Gary Lineker.
I listened to that.
He said, if you look at the way everybody's set up, no one in his team's expecting a free kick, right? No one's set. They're not ready to go. Okay. So the only person that on the face of it was trying to take a quick free kick, although I think it actually doesn't make sense, was Veltman himself, right? So when he goes to take this quick free kick, we all have an understanding in our minds of how it works. The player puts the ball down very quickly on the ground. They try to take the quick free kick, and the player's standing over the ball, or they put a leg out to stop it. Okay, that is what this law is all about. What happens here, though, is
sorry. It's not what the law is all about. The law is about delaying the restart of play. A quick free kick has nothing to do with it. You can delay the restart of play at a quick free kick. You can delay the restart of play at a ceremonial free kick. Both are punishable in exactly the same manner. The fact Veltman had a free kick to take, and the fact that Declan Rice kicked the ball further away from the original position of where the free kick needs to be taken, means Declan Rice has, in a capacity, delayed the restart of play.
But this is the point, though. He doesn't put the ball down on the ground where the infringement takes place, right? So he's not. Of course, it matters. He's not trying to take the free kick at all. What he does is he throws the ball several feet forward. Okay, so it actually is not at this point of where the infringement took place. Secondly, the ball is still rolling, right? So he could not have kicked it anyway, because if he had done, he'd be made to retake it. Declan Rice has his back to the player and is walking back towards his end of the pitch. It comes into contact with his feet. He knows what's happened. Veltman has tried to induce this instant, and he has, I agree 100% with you, Declan Rice, in a very smallish kick, right, moves the ball a few feet away, right? I accept that completely.
So then you accept he's delayed the restart of play?
No, he hasn't delayed. That's the whole point, though. He hasn't delayed the restart of play.
He has, because by moving the ball 4 foot, 2 foot, 1 foot further away from where the ball originally was, you have delayed the restart of play.
See, I mean, I think this is just completely wrong. I think this was an incident induced by Veltman, and I think it was all tactical. And every pundit and former player who I've seen speaking about this, I have to say, Adam, is in completely agreement with me that this was an incident that he induced, and that I'm yet to see a pundit who's a former footballer say that they think this was a good decision for football.
Yes, but that's because footballers have a very different take on these kinds of very technical and very silly situational laws, right? At the end of the day, Declan Rice has put the referee in a position where he has to make a decision on Declan Rice's actions. All he has to determine is whether the kick was deliberate and whether it has delayed the restart of play. And Chris Kavanagh can easily deduce the fact that both of those two considerations have been met in this instance. Softly, I agree. Did he delay it a lot? No. Could play have restarted immediately? No. However, has Declan Rice's action still delayed the restart in some capacity to the match? Yes. Does this
So
happen elsewhere in football? Yes. And does it go unpunished? Yes. However, Chris Kavanagh is not wrong in issuing a yellow card there. Is it sensible? Is it what football wants to see? Is it necessary? Could it have been managed in a much better way? I'm inclined to say yes to that. However, it doesn't make the decision wrong.
but it's interesting. I'm of the view that Veltman's kick of Declan Rice, I think personally it was deliberate, and I think that he's actually not trying to play the ball at all. And I'm surprised. I don't think VAR looked at it, and the only context which VAR could have looked at it if they thought there was a possible red card offence having taken place. And I think if they'd looked again at the Veltman kick of Rice, I think they might have come to a different conclusion. Simply because there's somebody tweeted, and I'll retweet it from our account, but it was interesting. What the tweet said is, looking very carefully at Veltman's foot, at no point was it low enough to kick the ball. His sole intention was to kick Declan Rice. Veltman had already played the station ball into his heel, so the ball was in play. The free kick had already taken. But anyway, what's interesting is about the kick, and I'll retweet it because when you look at it from the angle from behind, he swings his foot, and the contact is a sort of at Declan Rice's knee level, okay? And I think personally, and as did Andy Gray, I think instinctively when he looked at it first off, was that he thought Veltman was potentially going to get a red card for violent conduct. And I just wonder whether VAR had looked at it, they might have said to Kavanagh, look, yeah, okay, he's kicked the ball away, but I also think there's an infringement here by Veltman. And I just think he could have just gone in, and it's the beginning of the second half, just had a chat with both of them, tried to calm things down. I don't think there's a single person really there that wanted to see a referee come in and give a player a second yellow and a red card for something as trivial
And
as that.
all of that, I have empathy with. I have complete empathy with that argument. But all of that aside doesn't make it the wrong decision. Yes, Chris Veltman. Is it Chris Veltman? He
No, I
may
don't
well.
know. I don't know his first name is.
Oh, okay.
Veltman.
He may well have kicked him and got away with that, and that's not right either. And therefore, both of them should have got a red card. But the fact that he didn't get penalised for it, and Declan Rice did, doesn't make Declan Rice's red card any less correct in law.
What's interesting is Mark Halsey, the former Premier League ref, wrote an article for one of the newspapers this week, and he said the dismissal against of Declan Rice was a poor decision by referee Chris Kavanagh. The ball was rolling when Brighton's Joel Veltman took the free kick. So the restart would not have taken place as it would have been wrong in law. Therefore, the delaying restart does not apply. Kavanagh went looking for trouble and he found a referee as caliber should not be sending players off for this. He should have managed the situation better by speaking to both players, and he should have received a final warning. Veltman was also lucky to escape punishment for kicking the England start. And I think that encapsulates, for me, exactly the position. The other thing I wanted to sort of tell you about, which I thought was quite entertaining, is that on Twitter, I don't but sort of you can have community notes on Twitter. So if there's a tweet that goes out, Twitter, or X as now is, acknowledges that might not be entirely representative of what happened, and so they allow community members who've been approved to sort of put it into context. And so the Premier League account, which has now been put up for this season to try and explain decisions on the pitch, had tweeted saying the referee issued a second yellow card to Declan Rice for delaying the restart. And the community note says the ball was still moving. It would not have been a legally played free kick. Also, the ball was played from 8 yards from where the foul was located, which again is not a legal free kick. And these should have been brought to the referee's attention by VAR. Well, the last bit I don't agree with, because I don't think VAR gets involved in the location of where free kicks are taken. But I do think the comment is true about position and movement.
But that's completely inaccurate, because there's nothing in the laws of the game that says in order to delay the restart of play, the ball must be static.
No, that's why you have to apply a bit of common sense. We said before these laws have to be open to a bit of interpretation and common sense application.
And I'm not disagreeing with that, but it still doesn't make Chris Kavanagh wrong in law.
But the other problem is this, Adam. Did you see João Pedro in the first half
Yes.
I've retweeted this for those in the UK. I don't know if it's available to you to watch in Australia, but in the first half, João Pedro receives the ball, and it's a ball coming down the line, and he's running towards it at pace and heading in the direction of the Arsenal goal, and the ball goes out of play. All right,
Yep.
and he knows it's out of play because it's a you can see the clear difference between the line and the ball, and immediately Arteta puts his arms up straight away to appeal because it's gone out. And João Pedro, knowing that it's gone out, boots the ball, okay, not into the stands, which I think is an important point, but boots the ball so in a curving direction towards the Arsenal goal, right?
Mhm.
That is deliberate. It is delaying the restart of play because that ball is now still on the pitch, has to be taken off the pitch before they can continue. And it was clearly done out of frustration, right? Cameron did nothing about it. And I think
Yeah.
what fans have a problem with is when we're paying referees the large sums of money which they are being paid because we expect them to be professional and apply the laws consistently, that sort of difference in approach is, in my view, unjustifiable.
I think on that, I can see why one has warranted a caution and the other hasn't. And I think the biggest difference with this is time between incidents. Okay. So the time upon which the ball goes out of play and then is also struck by the winger, is it João Pedro?
Yeah.
Is a matter of milliseconds. And it's all kind of part of his original movement. It's all kind of part of the continuation of his movement. And crucially, it happens within a time frame of which I would put under the jurisdiction of frustration. Okay. With
But hold
Declan
on.
Rice,
But hold on.
just let me finish my sentence. With Declan Rice, it happens like 10, 15 seconds after, firstly, Declan Rice has already committed a foul. So, firstly, Declan Rice is already on a yellow card. So he's already in Chris Kavanagh's mind, okay, because he's already on a yellow card. He's then committed another foul, and granted, it might not have been reckless, but could be persistent. I highly doubt they're the only two fouls he committed in that game. And now he's got involved again in something ridiculous, goaded into it or otherwise. He's got involved into something again, utterly ridiculous. And the time in which all of that has taken is an awful lot longer. Like the winger, João Pedro, it's no different to, have you ever had a player running through on goal and as you blow the whistle for the offside, he kind of takes a strike at goal and misses it and it goes wide. And everyone screams at you, asking for delaying the restart of play. Give him a yellow card, he's delayed the restart of play. It's like, guys, he was still in that mindset as I was blowing the whistle. I'm going to have empathy with that decision. And that's why the two, even though the law is delay the restart of play, deliberate kicking the ball away, both could be comparable. You also have to apply that context to the game.
See, I think the thing they both have in common is it's two players who are frustrated who both kick the ball away deliberately. I don't see a distinction with the two. I think the timing's a non-point. I agree with you.
No, I disagree because I disagree because I do think, especially when you're running at pace as well. I mean, that's the other thing. One of the incidents happens at full pace, one doesn't. And I think if you have time to think about your actions, you have time to make sure you're going to take the right action. And Declan Rice failed to take the right action.
João Pedro had the exact same thing. He knows the ball's out of play. He doesn't kick the ball and chase after it, thinking it might still be in play.
Yeah, but he's at the halfway line, so there's another one sitting there.
Because he's seen the ball come out of play. He knows it's out of play, and he makes a conscious decision to boot the ball up the pitch. It's no different at all. No, it's no different at all from what happened in the first. And the difference between your example of the goal thing when someone shoots is because there is a split second between an offside flag going up, you going to blow your whistle, and someone letting a shot go. Here, he doesn't need the whistle. There's no think about, you have to think about here, well, did he have the chance to hear the whistle or not? He's seeing for himself because the ball is clearly out of play in front of him. He knows that, and he kicks it. And your point about, there's another ball there. That's Alan Shearer's point in the bit I retweeted. It's a nonsense.
Basically, Ed, all we're doing is repurposing the rest of this football, right? Like we're just
Well,
trying to monkey off the back of goal hanger.
it seems like it, because I'm Michael Richards sort of trying to talk common sense. I'm
Common
Michael
sense.
Richards and
Michael Richards
Gary
never
Lineker.
talks common sense.
I'm Michael Richards and Gary Lineker, by the way. And the only thing that Alan Shearer said was that the João Pedro one wasn't delaying the restart play, because his ridiculous point, I'm sorry, Alan, but his ridiculous point was there's balls stationed every 10 yards, so he hasn't delayed the start play. Well, he has, because the ball was still on the pitch. So they had to wait for the ball to go off the pitch.
I agree with you that. Yeah. But also you don't have to wait for the ball to go off the pitch if the ball's not interfering with play. So technically you don't.
Hold on. When was the last time with the ball still on the pitch in the Premier League, the referees just kind of gone?
I'm just telling you, by law,
okay.
That's not right.
Well,
so I go back to my previous point, Ed. I know the law's better than you.
Yeah,
well, that was a big eye roll.
And I just have the ability
that was the biggest eye roll.
Understand the laws and still have common sense. Somebody tweeted, just out of interest, about delaying a restart applies to any restart in the game, which it does. We've established that. But to be cautioned for delaying a restart, he tweeted this: 3 criteria must be met. Now, I have to say, I've looked through the IFAB laws of the game. I can't see this anywhere. Anyway, the person tweeting, who's an amateur referee, says, to be cautioned for delaying a restart, 3 criteria must be met. It must be deliberate, it must be clear, it must be impactful. Now, do you know anywhere where that's come from at all? Because I can't find that anywhere. No.
I don't. The only place it might be is in the considerations that I speak about from time to time that are in the Australian laws of the game. Which brings us to my next point. We're going to do a little mini-series on all of those, aren't we? Because people keep asking us about them.
Just to recap what that is, it's not available online. It's a paperback book that's available in Australia. Is it a whole of Australia, or is it just
it's the Football Australia laws of the game book. Yeah, and it has all this advice for match officials in the back of it.
Yeah, they give you some guidance about how to apply certain laws and considerations you should take into account for things like what is reckless and what have you, which doesn't seem to exist in the UK. And a lot of our listeners have heard us referring to it in the past. We've had messages saying, can you publish it online? Can you put it on the website?
All on the loyal listener WhatsApp group.
Yeah, so which we can't do because it's just a paperback version. But what we are going to do is we're going to have probably more than one podcast, in fact, just dealing with some of the things that are in that booklet. Because I think there's stuff on this particular point, isn't there? Is there stuff in relation to?
I think there is delay. I think delaying the restart does feature. I think it does in there.
Delaying the restart does.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on reckless fouls. It's on excessive force. It's got like dogzo considerations, and they're all just rhetorical questions. I think there's 300 of them or so, and they just help you go through a thought process in order to get the answer that you need for the law.
Well, I think there's more than 300 because the delaying the restart of play section, which I've seen, is points number 356 to 361. So so we are going to go through that at some point. Do you want to? Should I just deal with the delaying the restart of play ones now very quickly?
Have you got it in front of you?
Yeah, I've got it in front of me.
Why not? Because it might shed some light on this.
I think might be helpful. I'll read it out now, and maybe we'll discuss it when we go through the podcast looking at this document. So, delaying the restart of play. Questions it asks you to ask yourself as a referee: does the player delay the goalkeeper from distributing the ball into play? Does the player provoke the referee into deliberately receiving a caution? Should the referee consider if the player heard the whistle and clearly tried to delay the restart of play? That's that sort of goal incident we just talked about. Did the player delay the restart of play by deliberately kicking the ball away? Does the goalkeeper delay the restart of play? If so, how? And does the injured player use or extend the delay unfairly for a tactical reason? So there's good sort of questions to sort of ask yourself in that sort of situation. But we will do a podcast about that, Adam, won't we?
We will indeed.
The considerations. So yes, there we go. Pretty controversial incident. I retweeted the Michael Richards comments about this so that people can see that he talks as much sense as I do.
Please.
So what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, you know what else would be really interesting is if you listen to this and I'd be really interested to see if either of us have managed to change your view on it by our arguments. I think that'd be really interesting. And obviously just let us know in the loyal listener WhatsApp community, which you can join in the show notes or drop us a message or on the social, something like that. But
Yeah.
I always think that's interesting. If either of our arguments have been able to change somebody else's mind on it, or even your own view on it, would be really good to find out.
Yeah, I mean, even if we haven't sort of changed everybody's minds, if everybody's got a different view or thinks we haven't sort of taken into account any factors which were relevant, then please let us know. Because although we try to be perfect, but we can't always be. Some people may disagree with our opinions. I mean, after all, I'm only a grassroots referee.
But that's the point.
But
That's the point.
yeah, but and this is why we love football. I mean, but having said that, I mean, we love football because it just creates conversation points like this that everybody's talking about. Although it's just a shame for me from a referee perspective that this is what we're talking about after a game.
But we're talking about it. But the thing is, right, is I was having this conversation with my cousin who is wonderful. He listens to the podcast. Hello, if you're listening, Jack. And he's an Arsenal fan and he's incensed by it. And some of the stuff he comes out with is absolute nonsense in relation to understanding the laws of the game and understanding, like, all of what I'm saying is he's not wrong in law. It can't be wrong in law. And I keep saying to him, find that for me. All what you're saying, find it for me in the law book. And he can't. And then he'll change his argument, and then he'll change his argument again. But it's really interesting because I think it's always important to take these conversations and to root them down in law first. And then once you've rooted it down in law, to go, however, you could also look at it this way. You could also look at it that way. But all people seem to do is look at it from this way and that way with their own blinkers on without rooting it in law first. And you can't do that. You have to have that foundation of law and that foundational knowledge
absolutely,
before you can start applying spirit of the game. Because if you don't know what the law is, you can't. If you're just going to always make up spirit of the game, then you might as well just make up the laws yourself, right?
And that's why our podcast is so important, Adam, so that we can help
Absolutely.
people understand the laws of the game,
Exactly.
so they can then
and then
how they
and then they can
interpreted.
frame the conversation in law, and then add on to it the empathy that a fan would have for it, and also like, what can we learn from it? Could it have been managed differently? Absolutely. When you have two very similar things in the same game, like, you have to be very careful about how you navigate that. If you've taken a strong decision on one instance, consistency demands that you take that same strong decision on the other. When you're on your game, doing that on the grassroots fields that you will occupy, these kinds of learnings from these particular incidents are really important. Plus, knowing what the law says.
I do wonder whether something was said to Captain at half-time there about the João Pedro instance, because this is like right at the start of the second half.
Yep.
And I just wonder whether at half-time somebody said to him,
he kicked the ball away and you missed it.
Pedro kicked the ball deliberately, you didn't take any action with it. And then
Absolutely.
2 minutes later,
that's exactly how he's ended up where he's ended up.
No,
I guarantee that's exactly what's happened.
Might be right. No,
yep,
I know.
Absolutely right. Yep.
Anyway,
Adam, and that's not the fault. And that's not the fault of Chris.
No. I know we all don't always get it right all the time.
No. He did get it right.
Oh yeah, but not the first instant.
Not the first instant. Well, no. Potentially. I still think it was okay, in your view.
In my view, yeah, exactly. in the view of the sensible host of the podcast.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
I need to.
Who's apparently Mika Richards.
I need to get to work, Adam. I need to go.
I need to get to work as well. Absolutely.
Not good for the schedule. Right.
I know. I love the emergency podcast klaxon though. So at least we've got that going now.
I know. Good for you for working that out for us. Right.
No problem.
Have a lovely rest of your day.
You too, my friend.
To an end, and we'll chat soon.
I can't wait. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much for making it to the end of another episode of Red or Yellow. You're clearly a very fit listener. May I gently remind you to like and subscribe to this podcast in your podcast app. That way, when we release a new episode, our meandering chats will magically appear on your phone. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to share it with one of your friends when they ask for a podcast recommendation. Word of mouth goes a long way, and no more so than yours. Don't forget, you can get 10% off any refereeing equipment that you might need if you head to processports.com and use the code REDORYELLOW10 at checkout. Thank you so much for listening this week, And don't forget to follow us on social media. It's at Red or Yellow Pod. And please feel free to send us any questions that you may have via DM, or you can email redoryellowpod@gmail.com. We cannot wait to speak to you again very, very soon. Ciao, ciao.